Hi everybody, it's Killshot from 99 Gaming. This is Fear the Walking Dead Season 4 Mid-Season Special Bold Predictions. So tonight we are going to break down this coming week's episode. Got a lot of things that we pieced together from previous episodes. I think we've made some half-hearted predictions. Tonight we're going to go full scale. I've got at least 2, 4, 6, 8, probably about 10 different things that I've outlined for this week's show. And we're going to see how many of those things come true. And we're going to ask your opinion, what you think about this week's episode before we get too far into it. The timing is perfect. Valar times it almost perfectly. So Super Chat coming out of the gates with Valar says, "Hello 99 Army, Kill Steph, Emmy Kills, Sweet Tommy, sponsors and Patreons." Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And what a great introduction. Hopefully you guys are having a good week. We are at the middle of the week. Wednesday is officially here. I know tomorrow night we're going to do Game of Thrones chat, and then not sure about Friday, and then Sunday we'll have 3 streams for all of you guys, and then of course Monday we're going to do a recap, and we got a lot of stuff going on over the next 5 or 6 days. So let's get right. I know this group is so social that normally we'll get into the chat, and there's still going to be like some highs and what's up and how you guys doing and all of those things. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead while you guys are getting your introductions going on. I do want to personally thank everybody for being here and making time for this stream. So one of the bold predictions I have for this week is going to be a couple mini cliffhangers. I think one story is going to end, and there's going to be a little bit of drama, pun fully intended. So drama, I think the mystery around Althea is going to be one of the big storylines going from episode number 8 to episode number 9. Because we know that she's got the tank. We think the tank is bold, but we brought up just some a little bit of pushback, like where's she getting the fuel? Where did she get this tank? I'm sure we'll get a little bit of the backstory. What's the deal with her? We see that she can handle a weapon. So they are in a stadium. She's going to have to clear out some area just to try to get those supplies and try to be able to save John. So the heat is really going to come down on her shoulders in order to survive it. We also know that they are being trailed. So Alicia and Strand actually, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I want to do the bold predictions about this week. But one other thing, and I don't think we talked about it a whole lot, of something weird that happened in episode 7, was Alicia stopped firing, and then when they got into the tank, I think both Alicia and Strand shot at the tank. Now, one, it's a tank, so not sure why they wasted the extra bullets, but clearly it was just out of frustration, just like, pap, pap, you know, whatever. But they did get off a couple of shots when they were driving away. So it appeared as so that Strand and Alicia were going to meet them at the stadium. So I guess they're going to break in, and we're going to find out a little bit more about how it went down. So one of the predictions that we made, and I'm going to throw this out for the group right now, is some people said that Madison actually locked herself into the stadium and died via walker. Some people said that Madison is gone and that Enos and the rest of the vultures lock down the stadium to keep those walkers for the next time that they're going to need them. So I'm going to throw it out to the group right now. If you had a bold prediction, which prediction is it going to be? Why are all those walkers still in the stadium? And how did the door, get closed or rebuilt? Either had to be closed as the original door or rebuilt. But those walkers were they were a little bit charred. And we're going to read a few of your comments. If you guys are new to the 99 Gaming Chat, make sure you subscribe. Join us for these streams. We do streams 4 or 5 nights a week. We'd love to get you here and love to hear a little bit of your comments, a little bit of your feedback. Another Fox says, Madison opened the gates to get the walkers off the kids. That would make sense, right? Because the walkers are completely surrounding Nick and Alicia. Bumblebee says, everyone thinks Madison's going to die. Could be someone we least expect. Jason, the mixologist, says, I think Madison had a just-in-case plan. So, if she did have a just-in-case plan, Jason, does that include her living? The irony is, so some people think it's obvious that Madison dies, but then the name of the title is No One's Gone. And that's going to be that play on words where Madison said, no one's gone until they're gone. Mitch Strew says, Madison let them in and closed the door to get the attention, to save the kids. Drama King says, I believe they were charred walking through the fire. Correct. And I believe the walkers were locked in there so nobody can rebuild the stadium. Jeffrey Morrow says, Madison is hidden away. I think they pulled a Beth on Madison. And we'll get a few more comments in. So I don't mind doing it. I'm going to go ahead and just go out on the limb here. Rial says they spend more time trying to save that character, not worth it. I agree. So I think there has been an obvious intent to phase Madison out this season. Because of that, I think she's gone. Not just because everybody thinks she's gone. I think it's a perfect setup. And keep in mind, it's not... The writers... This has been filmed for several months. So the writers don't really know how we're going to feel at this moment. That's just something that just sort of happens naturally. We talk about it more. We pick up some clues. Some things look good when they're on paper, when they're filming it. So they have no way of telling 6 months ago when they're filming this stuff that everybody's going to think that Madison is dead. And I think you're kind of at that point of no return. But I do think it's a nice story. And so I think because they phased her out, I don't see her character being a big part of the second half of the season. I just don't. Number two, I think it's a beautiful story to show her walking along the fields with Nick. I think there's going to be because Frank wanted to leave the show, kind of like Andrew wanting to leave the show, it forced them to write a story, and I think that Andrew's story could somehow be related to Carl to sort of bring closure to that relationship. And I also think that Madison's story is going to be bringing closure to that relationship with Nick, like all the things that she did to help him, to save him, and no one's gone until they're gone. Maybe you get a nice little afterlife type of thing, or pre-afterlife where Madison's content, and we see some of the flashbacks at Nick. I could see this being a very touching type of episode because the season has been very, very good. I would not mind seeing that kind of go down. Because in theory, what's ironic about all this is how it would go down. I'll get to some. Let me get to the super chat in 1 second. Maybe she's hidden in a dugout. Every scene on the show showed her building and tearing down that dugout. Well, and that was, that's what she built for Naomi, right, Jason? So she could be. But I do think if she's hidden in the dugout at this point, she took all the wood out to reinforce the wall. So I don't think she had time to make it back into a panic room, Steph, because this is all happening like at night. They took the wood down, they put it up there, so it's pretty barren at this point. So what let me go back to this, because this is what's so weird with the time frames. If Madison dies, yes, so Sergeant Chosen One, wants to know, so Kills, your final answer is Madison dead? Yes, that's my final answer. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the way the timeline played out, and this is really beautiful writing in my opinion. I know some people don't like the shifting timelines. It appears as though Nick died before Madison, right? Because he died in a previous episode. But that is probably not the case. If Madison dies at the stadium, Madison gave her life saving her kids. And I definitely think that would be a much more satisfying death for Madison than going back and her having to deal with the loss of Nick. Because if she's still alive, she's going to have to, she may not get over that. So that would answer why the kids are so pissed. It would also give Madison a real touching, glorious exit to the show. And more than likely, it will be Enos who's involved in that. That's another one of my bold predictions. Not just the releasing of the walkers. I think that there's more to it. But the group thought that Naomi was dead as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Naomi gets out. So Captain Crawfish says, a lot of these larger stadiums have service tunnels. Who's to say she did not have an escape plan? I'm not saying she didn't have an escape plan. Here's what I would say. As an audience, do you really want to go back and live the Madison story over again? And just be honest. As a viewer, do you want there to be an escape plan? Do you want Madison to still be hanging on? Do you want to, see her mourn the loss of her son, realize that she couldn't save him? So let me also say this. A lot of people are going to say no. You got to get back into the timeline. So how much time has passed between the time the stadium went down and the time... All right, stick with me. This is very, very important from a time frame perspective. How much time has passed from the time the stadium went down to the time that Nick and Alicia met Althea, Morgan, John, and gang? Because that would be important. See, some people are going to say a few days. Some people are saying a few weeks. So regardless, if Madison is still hiding out in there somewhere, and that's kind of what we'll have to go back and sort of revisit a little bit, is where were the vultures? What happened to the vultures? Where was the next step of the vultures? There's they've kind of been tracking them down. But if it's been a couple weeks, so Gina points out, then why wouldn't Mel have said sorry about your mom and your brother? Depends on the time frame. And if it had been more than a couple of weeks, it's going to be very difficult to justify Madison being in that dugout. Okay. Follow-up question. If it's only been a few days, Gina, here's the follow-up question. If it's only been a few days, why would Alicia not have said, "Where's my mother?" So you can look at it both ways. You can't just say, why didn't Mel not apologize? Wouldn't Alicia, instead of killing Mel, wouldn't Alicia say, you know what? Where do you have my mom? What happened to her? And because that dialogue's not happening, it leads me to believe that Madison has been gone this whole time. When Nick killed Enos, Nick didn't walk in there and say, "Where's my mom?" They reacted as if it was over. Or, so that would lead you to believe that they don't think that she's alive anywhere. Now, on the flip side, if she died at the stadium, instead of going out looking for revenge on the vultures, why wouldn't the kids go back and just be 100% that this is your mom and she's gone? I mean, maybe if they're locked in the stadium, climb up the stadium wall and say, "Hey, Mom, you down there anywhere? You still alive? Can we get you anything?" So, if she's alive somewhere in the stadium, then I don't know why that the first course of events wouldn't be to go back there. I mean, Naomi goes back there when she needs supplies. Strand and Alicia go back there when they think that something's going down. All right, we're back. We had a brief interruption there. But there's a lot of different angles that you can play this. And it is really going to go down to the timeline. So if it's only been a couple of days, I don't disagree. And I saw one of the comments was, well, they made the mistake about Naomi, maybe they could make the same mistake about their mom. Well, with the one exception, it's their mom. They probably don't care about Naomi, and they could be setting it up to make that mistake. But if that's the case, this group is making a hell of a lot of mistakes lately. All I can do is put myself in that situation. I know what I'm going to see, but so let's say Madison, she opens the door and, the kids get away and she gets taken over by walkers. I mean, swarmed. Then my first course of action is probably going to be either to help or to try to circle back and help, or to get some validation that she's gone. I mean, I know there's been some miraculous deaths. It's a good point, Villar. The kids are backwards. They decide to sit there in the car while the walkers were loose. No doubt, their actions have been very suspect up to this point. I agree, Real. I would like to give Alicia more credit for making more intelligent moves, but they do some crazy stuff from time to time. So as far as bold predictions, I can be wrong about it, but if I deductively rationalize and reason what I have at this point, the way Madison has not been, she's not with the group. If Madison were still alive, if she had been with Enos or been with Naomi or been with that group, I think Naomi would have said something by now. So, to me, it's implied, the way everyone's reacting, it's implied that everyone saw it happen. Would you agree or disagree? Naomi's not coming up saying, hey, your mom died fighting, or hey, she's locked up down the street. Nick went crazy when he saw Enos. Alicia and Mel, sorry about your brother. I'm not sorry about yours. So that dialogue, that exchange, had been like, by the way, where are you keeping my mom? So if Madison's not dead, and we'll get to that in 1 second, it's implied by everyone there and all of us that she's dead. So could very well be, Fluff. I think they're assuming. But if this is your child or your mother or a relative, I think you're going to get a different level of reassurance. Like with Naomi, honestly, I don't think they really cared. They kept telling John Naomi's dead. So, Drama King, what is the twist? Is the twist going to be to make us watch Madison try to protect Alicia for the next 3 seasons? Because I'm done with that. And I do have to say, honestly, I hope they give her a proper exit and just let her go. Because you're going to see her hiding over in the corner, and it's like you're alive, and there's going to be this embrace between Alicia and Madison, and there's going to be this look like, where's Nick? And then we're going to go through all of that all over again. I say, we've gotten through 8 episodes pretty much without Madison being a staple, being a go-to character. I'm okay with going the rest of my life without it. So I think from a story standpoint, it's much more likely that they will finish telling us the story that we already know. So I know some of you said that well, everybody expects Madison to die, so she's not going to die. I don't think that's the case, because what's happened with Madison's already happened. I think it's a story that they're just filling in the blanks and letting us see how everything transpired to get us up to this point. So the next bold prediction I'm going to make is, and this probably doesn't shock a whole lot of people, is the split timelines will officially be over in episode number 8, and once they come back from the break, I think we will get continuation, and we won't flip-flop. I don't think it'll take, it may, but I don't think it'll take another episode or so to tell the story of what's going to go down at the stadium. So I think that's pretty obvious. I'm going to transition just a little bit because there's a lot of stories that are going to happen, and we are going to talk about this again on Sunday. Are we stuck with Charlie forever? Think about this for a second. Imagine seeing this kid who is stuck between being innocent and not innocent, and you're going to have to know, as Alicia, that this girl killed your brother. And you're going to have to be around her forever. I don't think Charlie's going anywhere. Jason says, unfortunately, this is a very interesting storyline. It is one of the toughest things that we're going to have to deal with. Every time we look at Charlie, we're going to remember that she killed someone. Maybe, I can't even justify it. Dakota says, in the last scene, looked like Madison's about to go on a suicide. Nobody's holding her back. I think Strand might be trying to stop her, but I think Strand has come to terms that Madison's gone. It seems like the whole group has sort of moved on. That they know that whatever Madison did, she had to do. I just think if there was any shadow of a doubt, oh, ouch. Epic Vid says Charlie needs to go. Here, I'll ad-lib. Kill Satan's spawn. Ouch. That is intense. That is very intense. Here's the other thing that we might be kind of overlooking a little bit. How many times have they made reference to Madison not giving up on Strand? Well, probably 4 or 5, right? So far in a half season. How she could have gave up on him, Strand could have turned around, all of those things. It was very, very obvious. They did it more than a few. So once again, if only a few days have gone by, of all the stuff that Madison did for Strand, she saved him. Would Strand, Lucy, Nick, and Alicia be hiding in the bushes waiting to ambush somebody to get revenge? Wouldn't they have spent that same amount of time like just reassuring themselves that if she's in that stadium, that we got to save her? So they've got to be 100% certain. Ah, there you go, Jason. So here we are again with the Walking Dead plot, because it's going to be up to Alicia to move on that Charlie killed her brother. Kind of like it's up to Rick to move on from Negan when Carl sort of asked Rick to take a different approach. You can see how that rift is about to start happening. Now, Fluff, I have been extremely logical with The Walking Dead in the past and been completely shell-shocked and surprised that something happened that was just so bizarre. That's why last week's episode really, really slapped me in the face. Because there were so many times in that episode where I'm being logical and you just can't be. The biggest point of logic is I would have hit the gas in the car. And honestly, they've got Mel in the car. Let me just say this, because I didn't bring this up the other day either. Madison could have used Mel as leverage, but even still, you know who else could have? Nick and Alicia are sitting right there with Mel. They could have just hit the gas, drove about, I don't know, about a football field away, because walkers don't move very fast, and said, hey, Enos, we got your brother in the car. You better start rounding those walkers back up, putting them back in the truck. Any of those things. Madison, who is the least likely to be in a position of power at this point, she's probably on low ground. She wants to open the door. She wants to run out there and just execute 1,000 walkers just because of her kids, is the last person that probably should be trying to go out there and save them. In fact, the kids should be saving Madison. And they should be using Mel as leverage to buy themselves a way out. So Sergeant Chosen One says, bold prediction, Charlie dies in 409. I'm going to ask the group this question because I'm going to make a bold prediction. Charlie does not die, and she becomes a central figure on the show, whether we like it or not. So I'm going to ask the group right now. Charlie dies in Season 4 or does not die in Season 4? Leave your bold prediction right now. I'm going to say she doesn't. I'm going to say that it creates a different moral dilemma that we're going to be stuck with for a long period of time, is always looking over and seeing the little killer that you're stuck with. Because in The Walking Dead, when the little ones were killing each other or a risk, they got rid of them. And I think on Fear the Walking Dead, they're going to play that out differently. Dwayne Sharp says Charlie's here to stay. Davina says no death. KCF says stuck with her. Fluff says dies in Season 4. And I do think the writers are doing a very, very good job of giving us scenarios that are similar to The Walking Dead, but are giving us a little different avenue. I think, and I hate to insult Clementine, I think this might be Fear the Walking Dead's version of Clementine, with worse acting skills. I know that's not going to be a very popular opinion. But you know what? If people can learn to love Negan, if they can learn to forgive Father G for turning his back on his congregation, then maybe in a season or two, I really think that a real test, I think they're putting Charlie on there to test how the viewers respond and whether or not they can leave that person that is straddling that constant moral dilemma and see how we react and whether or not we'll ever forgive them. I think The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead intentionally plant characters that they want to see how long it takes for them to sway our opinion of those characters. All right, I've got a couple more bold predictions, and we're going to wind this thing down. So, in the summary of this week's episode, it says Morgan tries to do the right thing. And the tank, big question for the group, will the tank make it past this episode? Althea said it's like a tank in a vault, I guess, and then the door falls off. Will the tank be a long-term part of the show, or will Althea just be one of the group that's walking around trying to find gas, find a car, find a means of transportation? The tank survives. It was a little surprising to see it starting to fall apart. All right, so absolutely, I am on record. I am stuck saying it. Some of you are right here with me. But Sunday night, if Madison, it shows just a concept of her still being alive, I will say that I was wrong. I mean, I'm going based on logic and what I think is going to happen. So, with that being said, I think these are not spoilers. These are strictly a prediction. I think there's two major ways that the mid-season finale can end. One, which I'm going to go down that path. I think that we get the finished version of how Madison saved her children and how she died saving her children. And we get a very emotional, touching send-off with flashbacks of Madison and Nick, and maybe Nick as a baby, and all those things to bring closure to this relationship. So I think that's option one. Option two, someone said that escape room or that dugout area or place Madison's hiding. Option two, we see some little eyes peeking out, and they leave us hanging for a month until the show comes back on, of wondering whether or not Madison still lives. That in some capacity, she made it out alive. So those are my two options. So if it's option A, I think they start over fresh season 9 and they're on the road and they're looking for new challenges. If it's option B, then it's going to be a little bit different to bring her back and have her integrate with some of the characters. Because how would Madison integrate with a new Alicia? How would Madison integrate with a John or a Naomi or a Charlie? I mean, right now, this is where not a lot of people are happy with option B. If Madison is gone, this looks like if all 40-something of those people died in the stadium. Epic Vid says, another cliffhanger, feel like a Negan kill repeat. I would not be surprised to see him do that, at least in some capacity, because as we've talked about Epic, in the first 7 episodes, there are a ton of callbacks and a ton of references to The Walking Dead where it's very similar and they just change a little bit of it. I know we've mentioned that on many streams. I'm okay with it because I like The Walking Dead and I don't mind seeing that respect. And some things, you just can't redo everything. Some things are going to repeat themselves, but I like the fact that they try to mix it up just a little bit. I would be okay with a cliffhanger. I do think it's going to be more of those sentimental, emotional moments instead, where we bring closure to the Madison-Nick relationship. Because the other thing is going to be, Alicia needs to become the leader of the group. So let me ask this question as a follow-up. Is everybody here ready for Alicia to take over and run this group? And if Madison's dead, let me tell you who this group is going to be. It's going to be Lucy, John, Naomi, Charlie, Morgan, Strand, and Alicia. 7 people. Are you ready for Alicia to be the decision maker? This is going to give us a good idea of what percentage of the audience feels the same way. Because, okay, let's say we have 100, 200, 500 people. You can magnify that over 1 million. And so it's a small sampling. So most of the people that are ready for Alicia to take over, that doesn't work if Madison's still alive. Okay, now to some of the people that said no, are you hopeful? A follow-up question. How many people are hopeful that Madison comes back and Madison takes over the group. And Alicia's right under her wing again. Because if they rule together, Steph, it's going to be as boring as it was in episode number 2 and half of episode number 3. And that's why the ratings were bad. And that's why the story was repetitive. And that's why they made such a marketing ploy this year to bring in new characters and to change the dynamic. And it's why they started phasing Madison's character out. Because I think if they do that again, we're going to go back to the same old stuff that was unsuccessful the first couple seasons that they did the show. And if they keep trying that, we already know what the result's going to be because we've lived through it. And what I've seen this season, and I'm going to give you a completely objective point of view. This is the way I've seen it. The writers have intentionally boosted Alicia's leadership, and they have intentionally stripped Madison's away and phased her out. I mean, you look at the airtime. This season has been about new characters and about Alicia starting to get more and more involved. I don't think that they did that without intent. I don't think they would do that just to say, all right, let's start pushing Alicia out there. Let's hype her up. Let's show how tough she can be. Let's not show Madison quite as much. Let's run the first 8 episodes with everybody wondering what happens with Madison just so we can, fan the flames a little bit and then throw Madison back out there. I don't see that happening. I think they've made Alicia the star of the show. So, Casey, to go with your point, if they're setting her up to be the lead, then why would they pull her back and then make her wait any longer? And that is a great question, Sergeant Chosen One. But you know what? We're not going to answer that tonight because that is actually going to be one of our themes for next week, that we are going to talk about the second half of the season. We're going to predict what new challenges are going to be there. And if we get into it tonight, it's just going to go extremely, extremely long. So I want to thank everybody for being here. You guys are awesome. Hold on. I got another super chat that I almost missed. Epic Vids is sliding in a super chat before we're getting ready to wind it down. Question is, how surprised will you be if Madison is alive? So, Epic, let me put a number on it. I won't be surprised. Because in the 2 scenarios, and if I were writing it, I would either write it scenario 1 or scenario 2. So with the scenario 1, Madison dies and we have a tearful send-off and everybody's feeling kind of emotional and then they want to come back and see what the story holds. In scenario 2, Madison found some way to tough it out, to survive. So if I had to put odds on what I think is going to happen, I'd say maybe 80-20. But I think logically, and the show does not always go within logic. So I won't be shocked if Madison is alive. I would be very interested. Let me say it like this. If Madison's alive, I will go back and review all the things that led up to her being alive so I can see how believable it is to me. If that makes sense. Because that's what I did with number 7, and as we sort of started plotting it out and planning it out, I know we did the reaction. It was like, okay, I can't believe what I just watched. And then when we did instead of the recap, we talked about it, it actually became comical of all the different farces, all the different things that seem so out of character. So it wouldn't surprise me for the writers to do that, but if they did that, we might have another recap where we're looking at it and saying, well, wait a minute, could they really do that, or did it make sense for them to have that conversation? Why didn't they talk about it? Why didn't you hear her name brought up? Why wasn't there a plan to go find her? Any of those things. Why did she kill Mel without asking questions? Why did Nick kill Enos without saying, where's my mom? All of those things. Why didn't Naomi bring it up? If Madison's alive, I'm going to want to figure out answers to those questions. Because if we can hear Strand say 5 times of, Madison, you didn't give up on me. You didn't give up on me. You came back for me. You didn't give up on me. If the writers can make that obvious, and not even one time have somebody say, I think we should go looking for Mom, then they're doing it just to make us talk about it and just to kind of keep it. But that's not realistic. So I know it's a long answer to your Super Chat question, but neither of those scenarios would surprise me. But maybe they'll have a third scenario that would surprise everybody. So, all right, the last thing that I'm going to ask as we go in, I've given you those 2 scenarios. If you guys have a third scenario that you think that you would like to include in this video that would be completely shocking, type it right now. And I'm going to read a few of these comments, and then we are going to wind this stream down and get back tomorrow night and talk about Game of Thrones Thursday. So any third scenarios, not just a scenario that you'd be like, wow, like, what if Charlie was Althea's kid? I know that's not. But I mean, that would be something shocking, right? Like, oh, how did that happen? Or Morgan dying. Or, that would be shocking. Maybe John got shot in the kidney and Morgan had to give him a kidney transplant, didn't survive it. I mean, that would be like John Dory dying. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. I don't think he's going to die because I think John is definitely a star, a future star. Tanya Dockstader says Althea's a vulture. Lucy dying. Madison becoming a walker and Alicia having to kill her. That would be shocking to me and touching at the same time. Kel says, I think Mel and Naomi saved her, but she's injured. I think have a reunion just in time. Watch her die in Madison to say, keep Charlie safe and trust Naomi. I ain't trusting Naomi. Naomi's lied about everything. I'm not going to do it, Kel. I don't care if Madison says it. I don't care if Rick Grimes comes over to Fear the Walking Dead and tells me to trust Naomi. I'm not doing it. That would be epic. I would love it, epic. Madison is the new villain and blames Alicia for Nick's death, and they fight. That would be great. I'd have to figure out ways to make that work. How about Madison leaves a hotel key card and it has PPP on it? Boom! There you go. That would be shocker for everybody. You know what? And I'm going to leave it with that. That would be the best way to make her into a villain if she just did that. And she started like gradually losing her mind. Maybe they leave a clue that she left and she's on the run. Hey, either crossover or we don't know when the Whisperer is going to show up. Maybe Madison forms her own little villain empire and they just do it on Fear the Walking Dead. All right, everybody. I want to thank everybody for being here. You guys are absolutely amazing. This is Fear the Walking Dead. This is our bold predictions. Stay tuned rest of the week. We're going to have a lot of streams going on between now and next Wednesday. After next Wednesday, we're going to take a couple days off, but you guys will be able to check the calendar. Kel will have that posted within the next day or so on the 909 Walking Dead Army Facebook fan page. If you guys are watching the playback, this is the closing credits. If you're still here, give me a quick 999, and I want to give some shout-outs on the way out the door. I'm going to start out by saying want to thank so much all the patrons. People support this channel. You can see the sponsors. Sponsors also have their names in color, have some custom emojis, a couple of things for the amount of time that they're sponsored as well. It kind of changes. You'll see like red circle, gold star, red star, different things along those lines. Also want to thank the moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kells, all the people that make introductions with their super chats, Epic Vids, big super chat all throughout the episode. Also Valar making those introductions. And of course, super shout out to all of you in the 999 Army who are typing 999. Want to say what's up to Epic Vids, Gamesley Games, Michelle M, Football Stuff Worldwide, Tammy Heitzman, Beth Brigette, Davina Tenoya, Sam B, Maria Favada, Darth Huggles, my favorite name on the internet, B Loves 999 and The Walking Dead, Dwayne Sharp, Nether Fox, Cammy, Jake Turgeon, Casey F, Maurice Gamble, Mitch Strew, BK Harp, Tanya Dockstader. If you guys are interested in gear, 999 Army shirts, Fear the 999 Army shirts. Kel just left a link to the Threadless site. If you guys are going to a Walker Stalk or a Comic-Con, go rock that, take your picture, and then post it on our Facebook page as well. Jason the Mixologist Daily, Ron Burgundy Moore, Ashley K. Estrada, Fluff in the house, Hippo. Where's Hippo? I haven't seen Hippo for in a while. Drama King New York City, Deborah Mooney, Gina Crockett. I don't know if I shout out Dakota Page. If not, there's another shout out. Bumblebee Brown, B Squared, Sergeant Chosen One, Garrett Farmer, Maggie B. There's Hippo. I didn't see you typing, Hippo. If you did, I missed it. But I got you. I got you, man. Matt Cooper, thank you so much for being here. Melinda Kettler. Bran Gilligan. Who else we got? All right, just a couple more shout-outs, and then we will wind this thing down. Okay, everybody, no more clowning. We're all about that Walking Dead, and we had a hella good time tonight. So if you watch Random Things, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, go back and watch the playback. I will see you all tomorrow night at 9:30 for a little bit of Game of Thrones. Need my Game of Thrones expert there. Peace.